Nothing in this podcast is intended as investment advice, and the people in this podcast may hold positions in the stocks they talk about. Do not buy any investment based solely on a tip or recommendation. Please do your own research.
Hello and welcome to the Midweek Takeaway. Today we're joined by Leon Coetzer, CEO of Jubilee Metals. Welcome back, Leon.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you for the opportunity again.
Absolutely. So, let's delve into the latest quarterly update from Jubilee, a leader in diversified metals processing in Africa. This quarter, the company has seen a record production of 408,710 tonnes of chrome in South Africa and a notable increase in year-to-date chrome production, up by 19.2%. Although Platinum Group Metals production saw a slight decrease, the company's operations in Zambia are gearing up for a significant boost with the near completion of the Roan copper concentrators expansion, despite a 6-week delay. Additionally, Jubilee is expanding its footprint through strategic small-scale mining partnerships, potentially increasing its copper processing capacity. So just talk us through some of these results, please, Leon.
Sure, Phil. As you rightly say, in South Africa, it's been an exceptional quarter. The team has delivered record production, just to have it sink in 400, nearly 10,000 tonnes of product delivered in a quarter, which includes the January month, which is a notoriously slow month with all those holidays. Exceptional performance, setting us on track to exceed our guidance for the year. And that's even before we deliver the next upgrade, as we've announced, the next modular chrome plant coming into that Tutsi project. So really an exceptional performance by the team. And again, just to maybe highlight that this chrome is predominantly produced from what the chrome industry had thought was valueless reef. It really sets and then aside and then showcases the processing capacity and the processing ability of that team. On top of that, all of our tolling agreements have yet again been renewed by our run-of-mine partners, again speaking to the team's performance. Yes, in Zambia, there's a bit of two components to that. On the one side, a success in bringing on small-scale mining licenses, and just to explain that, in Zambia, you're sitting with a thriving small-scale mining sector, nearly 3,500 licenses issued in the sector. And with this modular approach we've developed, which is currently being implemented at Roan, it offers a solution to these small-scale miners to upgrade their material to a concentrate that can be directly refined. That's what Jubilee is offering to this very large sector. And as the announcement says, we started with our first project, Monkwe. On the back of that, we've now signed 2 further small-scale partners. We're alluding to the fact we're in advanced discussions with 3 further such projects. Each project roughly bringing on stream about 4,000 tons of copper per annum in its own right, depending on the scale of those operations. Really significant opportunity that's being chased down by the team in Zambia. On the other hand, very frustratingly for all of us, is the completion of Roan. It's basically all completed. We are frustratingly waiting for an electrical component that's stuck within the logistical nightmare the world is facing at the moment. And based on that final deliveries, we are told that the equipment can be expected during the month of April, towards the end, beginning May, which allows us then to finally complete the commissioning and ramp up of that facility. And as you say, it's such an important step in Zambia because it is that step that then significantly increases our copper output in Zambia.
Absolutely. That was one thing I wanted to pick up on was, you used the word frustrating in the RNS in relation to Roan, as you just alluded to. What would you have done differently if you could have done, or do you feel that these delays potentially couldn't have been avoided?
It's such a tough thing, and I've asked the same question internally to our project team and our logistical team, and it's a bit of an unfair question even for me to ask them because the world is going through such shocks logistically that is unprecedented and in many cases impossible to plan for. And yes, retrospectively, as we've done, more and more we look to local manufacturing, local sourcing, to try and overcome some of those logistical nightmares, as we're doing now with our expansion plans, even for our South African expansion plans, where by far the majority of the equipment is actually locally manufactured to overcome that challenge.
Tell us a little bit, Leon, about the profitability in terms of the chrome and the PGMs, in terms of we're seeing PGMs pick up a little bit in the last month or so since we last spoke to you, and how's the chrome looking in terms of obviously fantastic production. But what sort of margins are we talking about?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, chrome is doing really well, as we gave our view on the fundamentals of chrome, driven by a couple of components. Chrome prices remain supportive and high, and is being supported by the fact that there is such a supply constraint in South Africa, coupled to a significant demand driven by the stainless steel growth you're seeing in China coming through at the moment and continuously coming through. So the two factors are playing off for chrome, and that is so supportive in the chrome prices and therefore drives our margin higher in chrome. You are correct in PGMs. We've seen the PGM price, of course, pull back sharply, stabilize, and then showing a slight increase from those lower levels, as there is a view that in the coming quarters we might again be moving into a PGM deficit in the market, as there's been a slight overreaction in the PGM prices, and that again helps the PGM market. Of course, we are quite protected where we are. PGMs are a byproduct of our chrome operations, so being in that really bottom quartile, if not the cheapest PGM producer out there, our PGMs remain profitable despite the pullback in PGM prices. You would have seen in the news a lot of PGM producers are under pressure, and one can expect more PGM production being taken out of the market, potentially accelerate that deficit position that people are speaking of.
Yeah, it's sort of like a bit of a swings too far one way and then swings too far the other way, because as the production has to come off, if you like. So yes. In terms of the copper, obviously a bit disappointing in terms of Roan and the delays.
Yes, absolutely.
The reality of the situation is that, do you still anticipate that you will have the same guidance for copper for the full year of 24?
The issue about copper guidance is purely linked to Roan, of course. Roan is that significant step up in our copper. Every 4 weeks we lose in Roan, we lose roughly 1,000 tons of copper in our guidance. That's the impact of that. And of course, we look to quickly recover that 1,000 tons once Roan is ramped up and operational. But for the next 8 to 10 week period as we run towards year end, its impact becomes significant. It becomes less significant if you extrapolate for the next 12 months, as we can relatively comfortably recover that 6 weeks within the Roan production profile.
And I mean, from the point of view of once Roan happens, what are we talking about over a 12-month period? I mean, obviously we're off to Zambia, and we're going to see you next Friday as well, in terms of when we come to Johannesburg, to go and see the chrome again, to see the PGM plants, and then head up, so people understand, we're going to go to northwest Zambia and then make our way down to Roan and then to Carroll. So how are things going in terms of, are you going to have enough production in Roan to make Carroll complete, as in, you know, even with the extension of Carroll, that you're going to have the processing facilities to produce the copper? Is it going to be enough, or what's the situation?
Well, as we've indicated in this announcement, with the rapid pace that we are currently securing further resources in copper through our small-scale expansion, we will be very, very soon out of refining capacity as the small-scale operations come on stream. And, you know, it takes only 4 small-scale operations to fill Sable in its own right. So you can see that we will very, very quickly be in a position where concentrates we make of copper will be sold in the open market. And then Jubilee has to consider, how does it expand its refining capacity, whether it does it through partnerships, joint ventures, or acquisitions of refining capacity to take up this additional copper that'll be coming from our small-scale operations. Because as we evolve, what you start seeing is that the small-scale operations around Sable has the capacity to fill Sable in its own right, and therefore Roan concentrate is sold in the market in the short term, as Roan itself looks to increase its own footprint to upgrade its concentrates into a semi-refined product. And that is the evolution that comes through as we're stepping up our copper from 5,000 tons guidance to 10,000 tons guidance to 15 and then 25,000 tons of copper and beyond operational guidance.
Very good. And how many of these small miners, in terms of feeding Roan and maybe even Roan's extension, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, how many of them are about in Zambia?
It's a thriving area. We're applying quite interesting techniques to identify these operations, and there are currently 3,500 issued licenses in Zambia, not all active. At the moment, we currently have our own internal review list of more than 50 of these opportunities that we are sieving through. Technical teams are looking at these various opportunities and prioritizing them for us and for Jubilee. And that's why we are adding to secured licenses so rapidly. We've gone from 1 to 3 and looking to step up to 5 very shortly. And from there, I expand further. These licenses, we're prioritizing the licenses around processing nodes, obviously. Those are the licenses surrounding our Sable refinery and the licenses surrounding Roan footprint or concentrator area. And those are the priority areas at the moment. Thereafter, we step out further towards the north and northwest, towards the Kitwe, Mopani, and those areas where we look to expand this footprint very rapidly.
And just so people get an idea, what are we talking about? I mean, your full year 24-25, what are you hoping to attain in thousands of tons of copper?
Well, at the moment, exactly. So we're looking to at least double operational output in the next 12 months and then double again in the following 12 months. So you can see how we step up very quickly into the 20,000 tons of copper per annum.
Okay. And then after that, when we get the, you're talking about in a year's time, hopefully we're going to have the IRH deal starting and processing. So when that kicks in as well, what are we talking about? I mean, are we continuing to double annually for at least 3 or 4 years, do you think? Or
I think
not as aggressive?
The IRH OB1 alone has the potential, as we've said, to be 25,000 tons of copper in its own right. That's assuming only putting down 4 process modules onto that asset. If you put down 5 or 6 modules, that 25,000 tons will become 35 and 40,000 tons of copper. So the IRH partnership on the OB or the waste rock project in its own right doubles our full 25,000 tons capacity that we've said. So that project is a particularly large project and is a project that we are pushing very, very hard in the implementation with our partner in the IRH.
So is it possible that we could go 10,000 tons of copper, 20,000 plus tons of copper, 40,000 tons of copper, 80,000 tons of copper, or is 80,000 a bit too much of a stretch?
No, well, I mean, it really depends on where we go to. Just to put that in perspective, those numbers, just in the small scale space, there is an expected or an estimated nearly 200,000 to 250,000 tons of copper per annum potential. That's just in the small scale space. That excludes what we're doing in our waste rock, in our tailings, in our Mufulira slag projects. It excludes Roan and what Roan and Sable is doing. So you can see the size of the prize. And of course, Jubilee won't be securing all of that. As no doubt, as with our chrome operations, competitors start educating themselves and then try and enter the market. But Jubilee definitely is set to secure a significant portion of that opportunity because we have the processing solution. We have the know-how. We have now been in Zambia for nearly 3.5 years, which is vitally important information on how to operate within that jurisdiction, how to address and overcome the challenges that we have faced. Very, very vital and valuable information and lessons we've learned to secure a significant portion of that opportunity as quickly as possible.
Very good. Well, we wish you continued luck, and let's hope that we can overcome these things, which are not easy to overcome in terms of sorting out the logistics. But I presume once those things are set and done, then really we should then be in a much smoother way of moving forward, and we will see this copper. I mean, copper was $9,500 a ton only a couple of days ago, 9,350 at the minute, but seems to be a bit of a one-way train because ultimately there just isn't enough copper about. So yeah, it could be very exciting. The escalation of your copper and at the same time an escalation in the copper price would be stratospheric in terms of your ability to create revenue and profit.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Kevin, if you think of the challenges we face, as you say, I mean, we really are speaking of the very last component. It's not really a particularly large challenge as much as it's a frustrating challenge, and that we face on the Roan side. And you're absolutely right. We can't be entering the copper expansion at a better time when the copper prices are so supportive at the moment. Absolutely true.
Very good. On that note, we'll say Leon Coetzer, CEO of Jubilee Metals. Thanks very much for your time.
Oh, thank you, Phil. Thanks, Kevin.
Cheers, Leon.
This podcast was brought to you by Roast PR Limited. If you would like to appear on a future episode of The Sunday Roast, please email admin@thesundayroast.net.